Hey, Sam, you come up with that intro line?
You didn't tell me that was today.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Writers' Room with Sam and Jim. This is the show, as you probably know by now, where we invite aspiring writers into our little podcast Writers' Room here to help them work on and develop their stories. And you can help us out by going to Apple Podcasts and hitting the subscribe button. Better yet, you could rate and review us. You can also join the conversation that we're having on Facebook at the Writers' Room with Sam and Jim, or you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at the Sam and Jim. We're going to break some story with Sarah Heveron-Smith and Paula Skaggs in just a moment. But first, Sam wants to go off about something. Sammy, what you got?
What I want to talk about is how much fun we are having writing right now. And so we're working on this pilot, and our agent told us, you don't need to write another pilot. Why don't you write a pitch? We'll take it out, that kind of thing. You already have a writing sample. Our writing sample, which is a sci-fi sample, is brand new. It's getting good reception. We didn't really write it to sell it. If we sell it, great. But we wrote it because we just wanted to write hard sci-fi for our pleasure, because we've been doing so much straight drama, and we just wanted to do it.
Luckily, we managed to do that and take all the pleasure out of that process.
We did. We did. I feel like there's two stages of writing, where you're writing for free and you're annoyed because that's all you're doing for a year or two or three. And then there's the, I'm working so much that we can't get to the writing that this other project that, we're liking what we're writing, but there's this project that we'd love to get to, but we're too busy working and making money.
It seems like it always takes us years to actually get through something.
Right. And I remember on this project, I don't know if we mentioned this before on the podcast, but we started writing it. We had the whole thing broken on a whiteboard at Jim's house, and we got a call that our deal, we were getting an offer from Daredevil on Marvel show on Netflix. And once we heard that the deal was in the ballpark of what we wanted, we literally took the whiteboard, wheeled it to Jim's garage, and didn't look at it again for 50 weeks. And that very project, which we keep attacking, then go on a show attacking, we finished. And then we rewrote it a million times and actually got it to a place where it works.
And as it turns out, people are liking it. It's circulating around town, and people are happy. So that feels good anyway.
But then we started working on this other idea we had, and we really are into it. It's exactly the kind of show we want to do. And we started writing it. And the thing and it wasn't sci-fi. We didn't have to create a world for it. It's just about people in an extreme situation. And we're having a lot of fun. And the best part about it, the part that I want to value and recognize, is that I feel like we're at the height of our powers. And when I say height of our powers, I hope that doesn't sound arrogant, because I'm not saying we are the best writers that have ever been.
In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man.
Right. We are, the height of our powers might be when Aaron Sorkin was at, half asleep writing something, and he's already above that. I'm not quantifying it relative to anybody else. I'm just saying we are at the best that we've been. And I can tell while we're breaking it. And why that's so much fun is the things that were so frustrating for both of us at different points of our career and before our career, where we couldn't solve a problem because we didn't have the tools or the language to do it. And we're like, we know there's something wrong here, but we don't even know we don't know what's wrong, which, by the way, still happens, but we don't know how to talk about it.
Right. There's no more, there may be potholes, but there's no roadblocks where you're just stopped.
Right. And, well, for me, we don't know that, we need to go get a backhoe and rip up this road. And we know now that if we're sitting here going around and around on a scene or a story chunk for a while, well, maybe
this is the road to nowhere.
Right. And at that point, when we get into that, and we got into it yesterday, the day before, I feel all of the stuff, the tools that we've worked so hard to get for ourselves through blood and sweat and poverty and success and all those things, they're there for us. And it just makes writing more fun. And we're in that zone, and I know that something's going to get messed up. But while we have it, I just want to appreciate it. And
so what you're saying is that in the end, it's actually all worth it?
I'll let you know when we get to the end, which I would like not to happen
to be for a long time.
Long time. But right now, 100% worth it.
Okay, let's get into this week's show.
This is Sam.
This is Jim.
Which one's Sarah and which one's Paula?
I am Sarah.
I'm Paula.
Hi, guys. How are you?
Good. How are you?
It's so fun to talk to a writing team because I feel like we've come home.
Aww.
Yeah, we're so excited to talk to you both too, because I think this is our first big project that we've each worked on with a partner. So
Yeah.
so we're excited to chat.
You've worked alone. You've written a bunch of stuff individually.
Yeah, correct.
Tell me
This
best.
should be interesting.
What's the best thing? That's the easy question. Now having a partner, and what was the most challenging thing of getting into working with a partner?
I think best thing is, like, it's just so much more fun, especially with comedy, to brainstorm together. Like, every time I'm like, okay, and then, like, something funny happens here, but I don't know what. Paula's got the perfect answer. So that's the best part.
Oh, they're in the honeymoon.
Yeah, they still like each other.
Yeah, they're in the honeymoon phase, clearly. She's just so beautiful. I'm so lucky.
She has the answers to everything, and I still like
I
them.
know. And she
Give it a
doesn't do
week.
anything like my ex-girlfriend. She's so much better. Okay, and I'm sorry. What was your answer, Paula?
Yeah, I think it would be probably the same thing. I mean, Sarah and I are very good friends, so it's so much more fun to get to do this with a buddy, and it's fun to get to do something with somebody that you trust, and we know each other's individual writing really well, and so we went into this knowing that we would be able to write a movie well together. I think it's also it is nice to be like, this is the time that we're meeting on Zoom. This is the time we're talking about it, and not just being accountable to myself.
Yeah.
The showing up, when people talk about, you have to split pay, especially earlier in your career before you can talk people into paying you separately and all that stuff. That's the thing. We produce so much more.
Right.
Because of, you have to show up at a certain time.
And theoretically, you're bringing two answers to every problem or two different angles on a problem so that you get more done faster.
Yeah, or you've certainly gone down more blind alleys together.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, so what was the biggest challenge, Sarah? You start. What was the biggest challenge for you?
Okay, I think it's just like, unfortunately, like, sometimes the accountability stuff is great, and sometimes it's the difficult part. We're both just so, like, sweet with each other that if one of us is like, oh God, like, I didn't get my pages today because I had this and this happen, the other one's like, oh, whatever. So I think we've had trouble, like, with that part of it. But Paula, you can.
Wow, Sarah.
Wow. Honeymoon phase over.
Let me jump in here and just say, Sarah, when you say your pages are not in or because you had trouble, Paula is a little bummed, though. She's just being very nice.
I know. Yeah.
So hopefully, I don't want to say it's not passive-aggressive because I don't know Paula's intention, but I'm just saying there's still a little, you did fail her in that moment. I only want to say that because it helps motivate me.
And this is something Sam and I, like, Jewish and Catholic, we both share guilt in common.
All right.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yes, we have the guilt in spades. I grew up Catholic too, so it's like, it's there.
So for you, Paula, what's the biggest challenge for you?
Yeah, I think Sarah put the nail on the head. I think, like I said, one of the positives is we're really close friends, and I think sometimes that can be a challenge too, because we are, like, very quick to forgive each other, very quick to not forgive, but very quick to be like, oh my gosh, it's completely fine, you didn't write.
Although I do want to call bullshit on your answer a little bit because it sounded like someone saying to you, what's your biggest flaw? And you say, oh, I like to work really hard. And I so you're like, our biggest flaw.
I'm too selfless and kind.
Yes. And so your biggest flaw in
care
working
too
with
much.
another person is, well, we like each other too much. Uh-huh. So let's just keep going.
Don't worry, it'll change.
To answer it for us, I think the thing that Jim and I most get stuck on as a challenge, and we're getting better at it, is the thing we really argue about is process more than anything else. And because I want to approach something one way and he wants to approach it the other way, and it's just, and then we get like, well, and we spend 15 annoyed at each other minutes talking about how to do the thing that we want to do. Where if I was by myself, I'd just do it the way I want to do it, and I wouldn't have to talk him into it. Ironically, we don't get annoyed as much when I see a scene this way and he sees a scene that way. And I don't know if this happens with you guys, but I don't care. I really just want the scene to pop. So if his idea really gets me excited, then I don't even think about it. And I think that's true for so many writers.
I completely agree with that. And I think, I think that's also one of the big positives. And I think also, I think sometimes it can lead us both going down an alley.
When you're talking about how to approach a problem, the process, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I think so. Sarah, what do you think?
Sometimes I think we'll go, like, so hard in one direction, and then it'll take like a week of writing, and then we're like, wait, how did we end up here?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Yeah.
how did the story get this weird?
And And Sarah and I are both improvisers with our background. So I think that sometimes our little yes and muscles really turn on and we're like, yes, and that would be cool. And this would be cool too. Ends up in a very weird scene.
And you're falling in love with your stuff, which is the worst.
The worst.
I know, because you get distracted and you're like, oh, he's so pretty. I love him.
And then you realize, murder him in his sleep.
Right. And then
all
you
your
wake
children
up and
together
like,
have to die too.
All right,
Yeah.
that got dark. I was just going to say, you realize he's not good for you, and you need to go throw someone back. So you guys are both actually in the industry. I mean, I'm not telling you that you don't know, but you guys met each other in the Late Night Writers Workshop, and Sarah, you're a PA for an art department, and did I have that right?
My first job in the industry was an art department PA on Daredevil.
I have a question for you. Did you read the scripts, all the different drafts that came out?
I did.
Okay.
Not all of them.
Well, okay.
But I joined partway through the season. They must have had someone leave or something. So I think I joined at like episode 6.
So what I'm curious about is, in TV writing, we write lots of drafts. They change. For those who don't know, we have the white production draft, and then the next one I think is blue or pink, or I never remember the colors.
Pink,
and then
yellow,
once I'm on a show, I'm like,
goldenrod.
well, of course it's blue, but these are the colors. And then 10 minutes later, after I'm done with the show, I have no recollection of what the order is. But every time it changes, it goes to all the departments. And then theoretically, they're all looking for the changes that affect their departments. But I know they must have opinions on the scripts, and we never hear them, except for the occasional, oh, hi, nice to meet you, and then nice word, blowjob, and then let's get to work, And by blowjob, I meant kind words that were not necessarily meant.
Gratuitous, unnecessary kindness.
Yes. So I'm like, so I don't believe anybody anymore. Do you guys sit there and get a draft and say, oh, no, the last draft was way better?
This doesn't make any sense.
This doesn't make any, whatever it is. Does that happen?
Now I'm a showrunner's assistant, so I get to see the draft sooner, so it's the process makes more sense. But back as an art department PA, I was just so thrilled to be seeing scripts for the first time, and I had so much fun going through and seeing the changes, and it would be oh, I see how that's more concise or that's more this. But I guess I never heard those, me being enthusiastic first job.
Right.
And also you guys are great, and that was a great show. And I never heard anybody be oh, the script is so much worse now.
Right.
I think it was just the process kind of helped.
Okay, I don't believe you, but thank you. That was I'm glad you liked the show. All right, so let's jump into what you're doing. So why did you decide to do this thing together?
So we met through the Late Night Writers Workshop. We loved each other immediately, and that was in 2017. And I think we were just finally wait, why are if we spend 2 hours on a weekend talking to each other about each other's writing, what if we just tried writing something together? And I think we also we hadn't tried a feature yet, and maybe it just seemed a little bit more manageable to tackle it with 2 people.
I think that's exactly it. And I think that one of the benefits of me and Sarah having read everything that the other one had written,
yes, literally, emails.
Emails checking in, and then I'd send a panic text to Sarah being do I sound mean?
Is it okay to say I'm checking into someone? Yes, everything.
So I think we knew each other's voice so well, and we knew each other so well. And especially once the pandemic hit, Sarah and I were well, now we have all this time. We're not also doing live shows. Let's attempt to do this together. And we both always wanted to write a feature, and it seemed a lot more doable, and it seemed a lot more fun.
That does help. I mean, there's no question. Either Jim and I don't have the same voice, but we both aspire to the same voice. So I know what you mean. We aspire. There's a certain voice that we have in our heads generally that we like, and Jim takes a different tack on it. We're come at it. I know when it's him writing stuff. I don't often remember. Sometimes I don't remember who wrote things, which I think is a successful part of my Alzheimer's, but also part of the fact that. Or drug use. It doesn't have to be.
Right.
But also it's part of we're heading for the same target 9 out of 10 times. And I think that's the key.
It's deciding on those targets that's actually the hard part.
Yeah, it really is. So let's talk about your target. What are you writing? You're writing a feature.
I assume comedy.
And let's hear about it, and then what we'd like to know is what's driving you crazy.
All right, great. Well, okay, so tentatively, it's called Maggie and Lenny Go to National, and it's a teen best friend comedy centered around 2 nerdy best friends. The logline is 2 nerdy best friends want nothing more than to win the National High School Speech and Debate Competition, but when they realize they have no chance of winning, they decide to take down each of their competitors one by one. So we're feeling it's kind of a, Mean Girls, Book Smart, but also a little bit of Kill Bill. It's these 2 girls who are so intense about they just really, really want to win. So they're going to do anything to win. And in this case, they're not good enough to win on their own, and no one's giving them a fair shot. So they're just going to get everyone else eliminated. so that by default they're the only ones left.
I have so many questions, which is a good sign. So, but let's get into. So, what's driving you crazy on this? What's holding you up?
There's so much.
Yeah, I love our concept. We have so much fun with it. And I think our first act feels very cohesive to me. Then we have this fun montage of them taking people down. And I think one of the issues we're having is that montage is so fun. How does that turn into a movie? Like, how do we make it less predictable, less of a checklist of there's these characters, they get them eliminated. There's these characters, they get them eliminated.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a big one for us. Like, it's kind of feeling like, okay, we need more of a B plot. We need something more than just A happens and B happens, A happens and B happens. I think we also want to get, they need to get their comeuppance somehow. They need to get a little bit of revenge from these kids that they've kicked off. And I think we're having a little bit of trouble with that too.
Well, so the question I have is, there's two different ways to do this kind of movie, right? It feels like a lot of times your main characters would be the people who have been wronged, and they're taking out people who are in some ways sort of feel like bad people in order to get a victory they really deserve. You're saying it's the other way around, that they're actually taking out people who deserve to win, so they should get a comeuppance against your protagonists.
Yeah. I think we were imagining like this enthusiastic duo of women, and like they do duo interp, which is like a speech and debate thing where it's just two people competing together. And like we were imagining like they're pretty good, but they're just not, like they're from a small town. They kind of get in on a fluke because they're the only people competing in their entire county. And I think we kind of had fun thinking about these two characters who like aren't perfect, aren't particularly like the best at the competition, but they just want this so badly that they'll do anything to get it.
And why will they do anything to get it?
I think it taps into like, one of our characters, her name is Maggie. She's this type A, super organized person who I think like deep down, she just wants power and respect. Like she wants to be a senator. She wants to be like a president. She just wants that respect. And I think that for her, like winning this national speech and debate competition taps into everything she wants.
Let me step back and just say, first of all, I love the idea. I think the idea is hilarious, and there's nothing predictable about it to me. I have no idea what the movie is going to be in the best way.
You can take a lot of interesting turns in the story, and no one will be tracking ahead of you.
There's this weird movie that I saw. It's called Starter for 10. Do you ever know this movie?
I've never seen it. I remember
it's charming. Benedict Cumberbatch is the bad guy. Which we don't get to see much, but it's a British film. Tom Hanks produced it. A friend of mine worked on it, so that's how I got. Otherwise, it came and went. It's out there, but it's about a debate team that has a lot of issues, and then it's in England, which makes it a little more interesting always. And I'm thinking about that movie. But the thing that I like about it, what you're doing is it's the Kill Bill part of it. Because as soon as you said Kill Bill, we started laughing because it's so nuts. Which is funny, and that's you already have like this built-in thing in your concept that is funny, which means you're swimming with the tide on that.
Right.
Anything that pushes in the right direction is a gift. If you're working against something, it's always a problem.
It feels almost like there's a little bit of kick-ass in this, in that you've got that, there's sort of something sort of ordinary, and then like completely unexpectedly extreme things are being done by these people who seem sort of ordinary.
Right.
Is it something like that?
Yeah, totally.
But what I'm hearing is a problem for you, if I can break it down, this is you're worried about being repetitive because they have to take down people one at a time, and how do you do it so that it's not just a different way of taking down a person, but it feels like a completely different situation?
Yeah, I think that hits the nail on the head.
Well, and for me, the question feels like it might go back to sort of story arc. What's happening to these characters? Because, even though it's a comedy and even though it's sort of episodic in a way, there's different little moments with all these people. I want to feel like in some way I'm on the ride with these people and things are happening to them and they're having to adjust who they are, what they're doing as we go along. So all these little incidents should be the ornaments on the Christmas tree of what their story is that's happening to them.
Well, that's hard to understand, I think. So I think that'll become clear if we get into specifics.
Sure.
So how do they take down their first person? What do you mean to take down? What do you mean?
The takedown, like they just want to get other people disqualified from the competition. Mm-hmm. And so, we've set up some goofy other like characters who are at nationals. Paula, do you remember the first one they take down?
I think it's the beefy jocks who are inexplicably also very good at speech.
Yeah.
And they get them to think that there is like a performance enhancing drug for speech. And so they take it and it was melatonin and they sleep through their event. So they're disqualified.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's almost seems too or are you saying you want the first one to be easy because they slip him a drug that makes him sleep through an event? Is that right?
we were thinking, okay, maybe the first few are easy, like they knock out a few, and that's kind of how we have it written so far. But I think that's why like we're running into a problem. We're like, okay, cool, first few are easy, then like how much do we stretch out the next one? Eventually, one of the girls has a crush on one of the guys there. He's just like a dreamy nerd.
But he's got to go.
He's got to go.
Gotta go. We gotta get him
We
out.
gotta take him out.
Right.
That's
But,
good. That's
you know.
that's great. This is the same. We've been down this road, and I can hear you say what my partner says to me, and I'm sure I say it to him, but I don't hear it when I say it the way I hear it when I don't usually think, oh, that's really dumb as I'm pitching it, unless I'm saying this is dumb, but let it suck. But him, I hear it all the time. So what I'm saying is, I don't care that she slips him a thing of melatonin or whatever it is, right? What I care about is, how is this hard for the lead? That's what I want to know. Like, what does she have to do to get the pill to him that is really hard for her? When I mean hard for her, I don't mean sort of this Mission Impossible, got to get into a room, blah, blah, blah. Although that's fun and funny. But also, what does she have to do? Like, this is not it. But she has to take off all her clothes and walk into a room full of people in order to make this happen. It's basically messing with her. Every one of these things is a test for these people. And that's where it comes down to character. That's just my pitch. What do you think?
That's so helpful to think about.
Yeah, I think that also gives it maybe a little bit more weight for each one of these, because I think the way that we have them, they take down the drama nerds, they take down this, they take down that, is very fun. But I think that maybe if we consider that a lot more of like, what is the actual like meaning behind it, I think that gives it a lot more weight. I think that would help it not feel like a checklist.
When we originally envisioned this film, it was like slightly different. We had like this best friendship, and we were like, okay, eventually it has to like break apart. So I feel like something like where if as they take down people, they're also like not compromising something about themselves, but like it's challenging for themselves in different ways.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
They're learning about each other.
And they're learning
Yeah.
about themselves.
I'm sorry, themselves, yeah. Now we put you on the spot, because this is the writer's room. You're in a writer's room. So we pitch to you, this is your show, you're in charge. We pitch to you this idea of, what about this challenge, this getting the melatonin into Beefy, what was his name? Beefy Jock, which by the way is I think the brand of my undershirt. But how do we get the drug into Beefy Jock? And how is that important to whoever does it? How does that mess her up? How does it affect her? What does it reveal about her? So how about pitch us some ideas for that? Let us be part of your room.
Okay, cool. So just to give you like a little baseline. So, all right, we've got Maggie. She's our type A, super scheduled, super motivated person. Then we've got Lenny. She's like this cool, charming, fun person who's like a little bit ADHD, not great at like following through with things, like wants to be the best she can for Maggie, her best friend, but sometimes lets her down. So I feel like Maggie just like has some shame around, oh my God, I can't believe I have to cheat to win when I'm such like a type A perfectionist person. Like, I don't know how that translates into like a story for this, but I wonder if there's something there, like, I don't know. Maybe she's like never been to I'm just talking out loud. Maybe she's like never been to the doctor before because she thinks she can take care of everything herself, and she like has to like finally like go to the nurse on call and like ask for melatonin pills, and it just like humbles her in a way. Guys, I don't know.
No, that's a great start. That's a great start. Thank
Yeah.
you. That's great. Okay, so she has to go to the doctor. She fears the doctor.
You're putting obstacles in front of these Kill Bill moments,
Right.
which
So
is good.
That's
Right.
great. So let's dive into that pitch. Let's make it even better. So that's great. So she has to go to the doctor, and she can't go to the doctor. She hates going to the doctor. Why does she hate going to the doctor?
So we do have in this setup of our script, we do have that Maggie, her mom has died, and her dad takes care of her, and her dad is like a doomsday prepper.
So does she
I'm
believe,
wondering if
she like an anti-vaxxer who believes that, you're going to get tracked with a needle? I mean, what is her, how does that lead to a thing? I'm pitching, by the way. I'm not asking. But what is it? How are you going to make that into something in a scene?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like I'm definitely not an anti-vaxxer in our minds. I hope not. God, we want to love her.
Judgment.
Sorry.
Losing
Sorry,
half
all
your
the
audience
listeners out
right there.
Yeah.
Gosh, I don't know.
Well, I think also maybe Sarah, like, is this one of her first time being out on her own too? Like,
True.
You know, do we make it where her dad was kind of overprotective and you know, now she has to figure out, I'm just wondering if there's something there, you know, she has to like figure out some of these things on her own in maybe a way that she's never really had to deal with.
That's great.
We had her as like a homeschooled kid for a while, and like, she's just joined public high school this year, and that's how.
That's great.
That's
great. You know, I took my 18-year-old daughter to the doctor. And I was like, you know, you're 18. She just graduated high school. Why don't you deal with this doctor thing? I'm going to just stand here, and I want you to check in and answer the questions and do everything, because I'm used to doing everything. And guess what? It's time for you to do it. And oh my God, she knew nothing. I was like, yes, now you answer her question. Now you press this on the iPad because you fill out your forms. And do I have to answer this? No, you don't have to tell them your Social Security number. Tell them to go screw themselves. Why does the doctor need your Social Security number? Basic stuff. So the idea, and there's a little bit of unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt here too, because she spent all those years in the
outside the mainstream, right?
Yeah, well, she was in that bunker.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking for this character, right?
Yeah.
It comes down to, you know,
so
this is new to her.
So this is starting to sound really funny. I mean, are you pitching someone who knows very little about the world has to get into a hospital or doctor's office in order to get something, and this will reveal her fears, and hopefully she'll get past it, or she won't, and it'll somehow work out. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I like that a lot, and I think, you know, we do.
It was your pitch.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That's good press.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Can see why you guys get along together.
I think that's fun too, because I think that we have a couple of scenes at the top that have this weird doomsday prepper dad, and I don't think that we show how that would have affected her at all. And of course that would, obviously, but I think letting that carry through and letting that be a little bit more a part of her personality or her journey through all this, I think would be a good move.
I'm going to take a step back to structure for just a second and say, like, this is an example, right, of in some way you want to know where your characters are starting and where you want them to end. And then as you're going through this process, which each of these beats, as there's some obstacle and it's going to make them face something about themselves, that's going to build your emotional story for your characters as you go along. Mm-hmm. And it'll probably make these beats feel less like you're just sort of marching in place, because you're actually moving your characters down their own internal journeys.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So this is like getting back to specifics, because sometimes it's hard to talk about, you know, generalities and really make them understand, make them consistent with whatever you're trying to do. So you've got the doomsday prepper father. His only value in this movie is how he affects the leads, or one of the leads. Now, he can be a runner in himself if you want, because it's a comedy, but that's what his value is, right? How he affected his daughter. And anything else is gravy or unnecessary, depending on the eye of the beholder.
It does sound like it could be a source of exotic materials or devices for what they're trying to do as they take people out. Potentially.
Yes. Yeah, we did think if you have to tie someone up, like Maggie definitely knows like how to use rope from like her dad's weird prepping thing.
That's fantastic.
Oh, yeah, I feel like he definitely would have packed a bag for her.
Yeah.
The Go like Kit. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And what I like is you've got, you know, what's making me laugh is he's helped her. She knows how to tie knots. I don't know if he intended it to be used in this way. And also he's messed her up, because she doesn't know how to get into, say, a doctor's office or whatever you're picking for that thing. So this really works. And it's, if you just keep asking that question, I think this is what we would do. How does this affect Maggie or Lenny? You know, either one. How does it affect them? So what's the second one? What's something that Maggie needs to do if Lenny was the other one?
That Lenny needs to do?
Yeah. How is she? What's a thing that she actively needs to do to be part of this plan, and how does it mess her up, or what makes it hard for her?
Her character is someone who like is kind of like Maggie helps her with things. Maggie like takes care of her schedule. Lenny is just kind of like a free floating person. So I feel like that can introduce some like complications if it's like, oh, Lenny, I need you to like actually be on time for this. You actually like be in this hallway at this specific time to trip this person so that this plan goes off without a hitch, and then she gets distracted and lets Maggie down again. Like I think that could be something where I don't know, where we're kind of playing off of those characteristics in there.
So I have two questions, and then we should hear a pitch, right? Let's pitch on that. So first of all, why is she late all the time? And we had a friend, Stanley, who we would have dinner regularly with our wives, and Stan and his wife would show up at least an hour late meal.
Yeah, I mean, it used to be you tell them to give them one time and then actually tell everyone else a different time.
Yeah, and it was
Yeah.
minimum an hour, right? And then they had kids. And so
no.
there's the multiplier. Now that in itself, not a TV show, not a movie, who cares? All right. That's just a moment of us. But so what makes her tardiness interesting?
One of the things that we have kind of set up, and Sarah and I have talked about that we want to work into the script even a little bit more, is that Lenny is from like a hyper successful family. What did we say, Sarah? She has like 7 sisters, or she's one of like seven
older sisters, and they're all super intense, and she's the youngest, so she just kind of like flows through life.
Yeah, and her parents are like, you know, hyper ultra successful. Her sisters are amazing at everything they do, and so she has kind of just like blown under the radar, I guess.
Oh, how does that affect? What's her personality like as a result?
Competitive, or
what does that made her?
No, I think like not competitive. I think like we were thinking like she just wants to have fun, wants to like be everyone's best friend, is pretty charming even though she's like kind of nerdy. Like Paula just had this great way of phrasing it that like essentially like in 4 years she's going to be the coolest person you've ever met. But like right now she's still kind of like awkward high school vibe. But yeah.
Okay.
I don't know, call anything else.
I've said this before.
No, I think that's good.
So, okay, I have a thought on that, but before now, what is her, pitch a scene with her, please, where she is struggling to do something. Like get the next thing, take down one of the people, you know, the other contestants, something that you have where she actually takes it down.
Okay. Like do you want like one of the scenes we've actually written?
Anyone you want, anything you want. Just pick one that sort of demonstrates how she struggles.
I mean, we had one where they're trying to convince this like super religious competitor that she might be pregnant because she took a shower, and a guy like took a shower in the same shower stall before her. Does that make sense? Which is like a real thing.
That does not make sense, and I love it. It's hilarious.
No, exactly. So, yeah, we've got anti-vaxxers and bad pregnancy advice in this. It's a great movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's all in there.
Okay.
Oh gosh, I don't know. So far we just have it that like, you know, again, like she just is kind of good at this. Like they convince this girl that she might be pregnant, and the girl leaves the competition. But I wonder if there's something there where like, you know, where Lenny wants her to like her, so she doesn't like fully land the.
So. All right, so I set you up here. All right,
Okay.
I set you up because I knew you were not going to have a thing. Right?
We fell for it.
You fell for it. But I wanted to just demonstrate it instead of just explaining it because I was hoping it'd be more interesting. I don't have I'm not smart enough to have an answer to this, but I definitely can see the problem because Jim and I have made this mistake 72 billion times, which is you don't know, you know, your description of the character, she's a really nice person and she's going to be successful and she gets along with people. And I'm like, well, then what's her problem? Right? And the problem is she's so smooth and vanilla that you got nothing to grab onto. And whereas with the other girl, probably had some damage from being raised by this crazy dad.
She may not know she's been damaged yet, which makes it fun.
Hilarious, right?
Yeah.
And she's into it. And it's great. And, you know, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, she came out of that seemingly, now I only saw half a dozen episodes, but she came out
apparently happy and great.
And great. So, but all these weird things about her. But with this other character, with Lenny, when I was trying to demonstrate was you didn't come up with something where she struggled because she doesn't have any struggles. She does not have any flaws or wants that she can't get to that are getting in her own way.
The way you were describing her made me wonder, well, then why does she care enough about a competition to go take all these people out? It felt like she must be hiding some deeply competitive streak because of the sisters and parents and whatever.
Well, she's deeply insecure, right? And what you mean competitive is she wants to make her mark on this family where she has disappeared.
Right.
So in that case, what kind of character is she? And this is a question. What kind of character is she that she wants to take down all these people? Why does she want to do it? Why does she want that prize so much? It's got to be a flaw in her because usually most people
hopefully comes out raging onto the screen in a way that makes us laugh.
So do you have some what are your thoughts on that? What are some pitches for that?
Well, first off, I should say that, like, I think that Sarah and I both absolutely have struggled with this, too, and been like, you know, how do we – I completely see where this is coming from and completely agree. I do really like what you mentioned, like, trying to make the mark on this family where she's disappeared. And I think there might be something fun where, like, is she pretending to be – you know, does she want so badly to be so chill, so relaxed, so different from her hyper successful family? that is like the front she puts on, and
But
then
she's not, right?
That feels
but
like
she's not. Yeah.
yeah.
Right. And so what is she really then?
Like
think
also
she's-
hyper competitive. We also had like, and I feel like I brushed over this. Sorry, Paula. But like one of the funny things that Paula wrote in for her is she's really bad at wearing. Like she just like has very funny ways of wearing. But I guess like that's tied into like she just has like a very short fuse. So in certain versions of the script, we've had her be the one who's like pushing, like, hey, like let's take these people down. Like she's the one who like kind of goes a little nuts, goes a little crazy, is like let's take people down. So I wonder if like I don't know. I wonder if like maybe this is where like you guys are saying like her competitive streak finally comes out. She's like, I can't be ignored by another group of people. Like I'm ignored by my family enough. I need to like be noticed. I need to like be respected or something like that.
She's an attention.
She's a closet attention needer.
Right.
Yeah.
That's great, right? That's something right then. I love the fact that she's living a lie. That's the best. Right?
That's always good comedy fodder, right?
Yeah, because these are all these are gifts that you guys are giving to yourselves when you try to write this story, right? They're so small, but they're so important, don't you think?
Yeah.
When you're trying to write the thing, you're like, instead of thinking, what's the funniest thing? And obviously you guys can come up with that because it's if you shower next to a boy or where
the specifics are great.
You know, right, you're going to get pregnant. That's hilarious. And even if you didn't come up with it and you stole it from the web, even more power to it. That's great.
That is unfortunately something that I spent my middle school convinced was real. So
fantastic!
Wow,
love it.
I think I need to I need to sit my 12-year-old down, have a conversation.
Tell your 12-year-old not to listen to everything everybody tells him on the school bus.
Oh, I don't have to. Shouldn't listen to anything. I have 2 daughters, by the way, and listening to somebody who has 7, you're proposing there's somebody out there that has 7 daughters, and I just think
I guess 8 if you have 7 sisters.
But that kind of what the damage that 7 sisters could do to a girl is great, and I think that it's really you're the idea that she's craves attention and acts out on it, which is detrimental to what they are trying to do.
Right, the goal.
And you see that struggle, which is going to make us laugh every time. So then my question to you is, can we pitch in a place where her attention seeking would absolutely be the worst trait for someone to have?
I don't have specifics yet, but I love the idea of her, like, you know, it needing to be something where, like, they are super sneaky and they are super quiet and, like, they have to be super quiet about, like, whatever the backstory is for getting someone out. And then she just, like, has to make a scene and get some attention.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if they're taking all these people down, too, like, their goal should be that they're doing it under the radar. You know, they don't want everybody to realize, and giving her that quality, I think, would make it a lot more fun.
Yeah, we do have, like, this hotel security guard who is super intense, way more involved than any hotel security guard should be. And obviously, like, the Nationals, like, all these kids are all staying at one hotel in D.C. Just to give some context, they're using these conference rooms for this. So that, like, that's why this hotel security guard is involved. So I wonder if, and we have the security guard kind of, like, starting to notice that something is up, and she thinks it's much more serious than it is. Like, she thinks, like, these kids are, like, disappearing or being disqualified because of, like, a terrorist plot or just, like, something way, like, mafia something.
Right.
So I wonder if, like, Lenny just, like, can't help but, like, try and brag. Like, you know, like, the way, like, breaking
it's a great
Bad.
adversary.
It's a great adversary, and it's great. She should brag because that's essential to her character. Exactly. And it would be hilarious. And she can't say, I did that. She's like, whoever did that is a genius.
Right. Look how cleverly they did this.
Yes. And, you know, and she's getting close. And, of course, this is a huge problem for Maggie, right?
Right.
I mean, it's just conflict after conflict after conflict. And then all this really funny stuff that you guys seem to effortlessly put out says someone who did no effort and just got to listen to, you know, some good stuff and not all the struggle that you had to do it. But I know you did, and you came up with it, and the stuff hopefully that we're doing now makes it easier to come up with that stuff. I'm hoping.
Yeah. It does. I want to, like, jump into rewriting. Come on.
I know. I think this is definitely clearing it up too. I think that this gives us a lot more.
And I would go through and do that with including Beefy Jock.
Mm-hmm.
And here's why I would propose that you do it with Beefy Jock, even though he's just sort of an archetype, which is archetypes equal predictability, and they can be boring. But I just want to say, and I this is my opinion, I don't want to, that you don't have to make every character the same level of depth. You just have to give those secondary characters a twist, something where they're a little different.
Just put a little spin on everything.
I don't know what it is. I'm watching this great show, maybe you watch, called The Other Two. It's on HBO.
I love it.
Yeah, my wife and I are loving it. We're sitting down to watch it, and the show. A guy comes in, and he's the gay character, and he comes in, and he's got a roommate, and his roommate is completely straight. I mean, he's just, everything about this dude is reeks straight, and including apparently watching Survivor, which I didn't know is something is straight people do, but according to the show, that's part of it. And then the gay lead, sits down next to him on the couch, and they're watching this show, and the gay lead is attracted to him, and he's checking out he's shirtless, and he's checking him out in all different ways. And I'm like, okay, he's got a crush on his roommate. This is not a new idea that someone has a crush on their roommate. Something's coming. I don't know what it is. And then the straight roommate makes a move on the gay roommate. Okay, that's a twist, and I didn't see that coming. And then here's the one I never would have seen coming, which is after they kiss and kind of fool around a minute, the straight roommate, who maybe is not so straight, says, okay, dude, I'm going to go take a nap. And remember this? And I'm like, I never saw that coming. So this is not a guy. The twist is not the straight roommate is gay. It's the twist is the straight roommate doesn't know what he is and is confusing the hell out of his gay roommate. And I thought, that's it. It's just a little thing. And I'm completely hooked. Do not ruin this for me. I'm only a few episodes in, but it's great. It's just great. It's so good. And
it's such a good show.
And I don't know how secondary that character is going to continue to be, but if you can just find that little thing for the secondary people, it opens the world. So instead of beefy jock, it's beefy jock who loves horses. Something better.
He's actually a brony.
Yeah. Love it.
It's just that little thing, because you're going to kill him soon anyway.
Right.
You're going to kill Bill that day. Right.
You've got a lot to play with here. Yeah.
The central idea is great. The characters are, they're getting there. I can see that you're already moving down that road, and there's no shortage of funny. So this is going to be a great sample. I hope it gets made, but at the very least, it'll be a great sample.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much. This is so helpful.
Yeah, this was wonderful. I feel very, very enthused to hop back into it now.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
All right.
Jim was hoping to kill your spirits, but okay. You can't always...
They'll take care of that themselves.
I know. Good luck. And one piece of advice from a writing team to another writing team. When you get annoyed with each other, table it. Just move on, because everything changes.
Pick something else to do.
Pick something else to do, because by the time you come back to it, even if you're not really annoyed, you're just stuck with each other, just move on, because by the time you get back to it, all the emotion's gone, and and by the way, you will get annoyed. I don't believe you guys.
I don't know. I think they're taking great drugs.
Something is going on.
We are on a lot of melatonin.
Yeah.
Melatonin.
So great to meet you guys. Good luck with this. This is so cool.
Good luck.
Thank you so much.
And that's all we've got for you this week. Our producer, J.R. Zamora-Thal, is working the mixing board.
Our logo was designed by Julien Debar-Monclair, and our music was provided by Boudereys out of Austin, Texas.
If you want to get in touch, we are at The Sam and Jim on Instagram and Twitter. And you can find us on Facebook and YouTube as The Writers' Room with Sam and Jim.
And if you like hanging out in the room with us, give us a follow on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
And tell a friend, would you, so we can get JR paid. Thanks, everyone. See you next week.